Jackie is an International Kinesiology College professional kinesiologist, a Touch for Health and Wellness kinesiology instructor. Currently, she serves as an International Kinesiology College faculty and board member for the Personal Development School and faculty for the Professional School. In 2017, Jackie founded Teaching for Learning, a professional learning modality offering CPD workshops and hangouts for IKC instructors, facilitators, students, and those in practice. Supporting this work, she is an Associate Fellow of SEDA, Staff and Educational Development Association, and is currently working towards fellowship. She's been involved in kinesiology for 20 years, and today she's speaking to us about making the invisible visible. This is part of the Teaching for Learning Professional Learning series, and like most of her work, it's amazing. What happens in the classroom remains private and hidden. However, sharing our experiences with each other helps us to grow and improve as instructors and helps build the disciplines. This workshop supports and encourages instructors, facilitators, and students to make teaching, learning, and thinking visible. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jackie.
Thank you, Sylvia, for that lovely introduction, and welcome to everybody. I'm so happy to be here to talk to you about my workshop and my work with Teaching for Learning. So I'm just going to share my PowerPoint now, and we'll have the opportunity for some activities. There we go. Can you all see that PowerPoint? Good. Okay, so as Sylvia said, I'm a Touch for Health and Wellness kinesiology instructor. And after I was teaching for some time, over 10 years, I felt there was more improvements I could do in my classrooms, but I wasn't aware of what those changes would be. So I set on a journey to find out how could I improve. And that's where the Teaching for Learning series has developed from. So what I actually did was went back to college and I did a postgraduate certificate, diploma and master's in teaching and learning in higher education. And quite simply, this changed my world. I became aware of lots of things that I could do differently or improve on. And I really I'm so passionate about this work. I want to share it with colleagues. So this was one of the first workshops that came out of that work, called Making the Invisible Visible. And who is it for? Well, mostly it is for IKC instructors and facilitators. But not forgetting the students, the information is also available to students through Touch for Health mentoring with me. So if this is an idea that appeals to you, wherever you are in your journey, or even in practice, that would also be available through mentoring. What is it about? It is about educational improvement, change and transformation. So I'm passionate about things not being in a status quo. You know, especially when we're teaching a long time, we can get very stuck in our ways, and sometimes it's good just to shake it up. So that was the question I was asking: how can I improve my teaching and student learning? We're talking about making the invisible visible, but what do we want to make visible? Teaching, making teaching visible. As teachers, we're always very interested in the teaching, and if we have any teachers or facilitators in the group today, you know, we get excited about our teaching plans, what we're going to teach. Sometimes the focus can be lost a little bit on the learning. So what the work I do helps us make sure we always keep the focus very firmly on the learning. And also then, and we want to make that learning visible. Also, of course, we want to make thinking visible. And if you think about thinking, it happens in the head, whether you're the teacher, the student, or in practice. So how can we make thinking visible? So moving teaching and learning, this is under the how can we do making the invisible visible. So moving teaching and learning from private to public. So often what happens in the classroom stays in the classroom, and you know, that it's not shared beyond there. So it can sort of disappear, what they say, like dry ice. It can disappear in the moment. You know, even if you teach the same Touch for Health one class lots of times, no two are the same. It's always different. The people are different. The conversation's different. And so being able to move that from private to public and sharing is part of the journey of making the invisible visible. I'm going to stop sharing there for a second, and I'm just going to invite you to share now in the chat. So think about, we're just going to do a little activity. Think about some learning you had recently. It doesn't have to be related to a classroom situation. It could be something personal, like learning to drive, learning how to get to a new place, learning some cooking. So just think about an activity that you have learned recently and just put one or two sentences, maybe just one sentence in the chat, and let's share that with each other. So we can keep putting that in the chat. So how did that feel? This is like a rhetorical question. Think about how that feels. And it can be nice to share, but it can also be very vulnerable. So you're going, oh gosh, I have to let other people know what I've learned. So, you know, we do this in a very safe way through the hangouts, which is another activity that's involved with teaching and learning. So one of the ways that we can make these things visible is through documentation sharing and also reflection. So I don't know if anybody, even though, you know, you could volunteer what you wanted to share there in the chat, if anybody felt that vulnerability. But what's nice about the MIV workshop, it guides and supports us through this process where we're going to share. So this is the tetrapod trackway. This is a little animal that existed 385 million years ago. And these marks in the ground can be seen to this day, and scientists can actually tell everything about this little creature all these years later. And my question to you is, what evidence do we have of our teaching and learning? Will our class a week later, a month later, a year later, 50 years, 100 years, what about 385 million years from now? What evidence will there be of our teaching and student learning? So we want to make it visible, open to others to comment on, and which allows us to build. Did you ever hear a good idea and you adapt it exactly as it was given to you? But quite often we say, oh, that's a really good idea, but I want to change it a little bit. So that's quite common, is that we change the good ideas that we get. So what we're looking at with this documentation is creating community property. And when you have an artifact, something that can be shared beyond the classroom, that is when you can actually discuss with peers, this is what happened. So classroom artifacts might be something like a balance record, a photograph of students working, and it's really useful to share these things. Of course, we have our Facebook groups, and what's nice about those Facebook groups is a lot of them are just for the group, so they're private groups, so it's like a safe place where we can share. The community also gives you an audience for your ideas, and it really helps you develop your thinking. So that's the formal definition of scholarship of teaching and learning. So looking critically at our student learning with the purpose of improving our courses, but also going on further to share the insights and build on what we learn. In this module of making the invisible visible, we look at teaching and learning frameworks. And this might be something that would be new for some people, but also we've had lots of formally trained teachers in our workshops, and they also report it's very useful taking this time out. So frameworks like Universal Design for Learning, the Teaching for Understanding framework, and also from Project Zero and Harvard, we use the entry points to learning. And that just sometimes gives us the language to what we're already doing. which actually helps us to talk about it. But it gives us some new ideas, new ways to introduce concepts in the classroom. We look at professional identity and our teaching philosophy. And that helps us just to step back and see who we are as a teacher, and that influences our student learning. We look at slow learning as a concept in the art of teaching and learning, or not slow learning, slow looking. So quite often we look and it's a cursory glance, but slow looking encourages us to look and then look again and then look again and deeper. And we spend a lot of time on the reflective practitioner. And the importance of reflection, which we all do as an integral part of our classes, but the deep reflection you get from taking time out and doing a workshop, and we do this over 3 months, the answers that come back are much more deeper. So the next workshop will be at the end of August. As I say, we go through the activities in a group fashion. It's very much discussion style and completing of a learning journal. So people all take different topics that they would like to improve in their classes or investigate. It mightn't even be an improvement, it's just to think about. But I want to encourage everybody to go to the IKC website for all the authors' classes. So if you're not familiar with it, if you're already in the PDS, you'll know this. But for those of you online today that are not, you can go to ikcinfo.org and find a class. And in there, you will find all the PDS authors and classes and contact information. So I'll put the website in the chat when I'm finished here. What else do I want to tell you? So we have a, yes.
Jackie, before you run away, before you do your wind up, I have a question for you.
Oh yes, Sylvia.
Yeah, what's the benefit of completing MIV that participants report? You know, participants have reported back to you the benefits.
Yes, great question. Thank you. The main benefit is the opportunity for educational improvement and transformation. So if that's something you're interested in, this might be the workshop for you. So teachers tell me, instructors tell me that I've had this idea to try something new in my class, but I never put it into practice. It's like we need a bit of courage, we need a bit of support. And so if somebody is picking to, say, maybe do more Facebook posting, that's something that we actually get involved in as a group. It's like a cohort-based training. So we're all supporting each other and then reflecting deeply on what happened as a result of that. So being more public, using use of video, somebody investigated that, somebody else looked into the evaluation process. It's very just student-centered of what the person wants to look into. They also tell me that it had actually sort of initiated a shift in thinking from teaching to learning. So we help to move the focus very much onto the learner, and people find that useful. And, you know, as teachers, we all want to be focused on our learners, but when we actually investigate this in this way, it actually ends up there's more we can do. And that's what's come out of that. And actually, as a result of these classes, we have now got a new module on student-centered learning as well. So what I'd like to say about the benefits is it's a process. It's not something you're just going to come and learn loads of stuff from me. Yes, I will give some tools, but it's the process. And Hazel Miller spoke about it beautifully last time we were together about Virginia Satir's information on the change process, that it can be a very challenging journey. So it's like it starts off exciting with what you want to do, then you hit the chaos bit, but it all comes together. And that's why it's difficult to do it on your own. So this is the supported process through MIV.
Wonderful, wonderful. Have you got that slide again as to where the people can find you?
There we go.
There we go. There we go. This is good. So those of you who are taking notes, that's how you find Jackie and Jackie's work. Jackie, this was amazing. I've heard little snippets about making the invisible visible, and I want to learn more about it. So you'll sure let me know when your course is on.
Certainly I will. Thank you. Thank you, Sylvia. Am I at time now?
You are.
Great. I'm just going to stop my share. Thank you.
Oh, this was amazing. And you're a very good presenter, Jackie. Very good. Ooh. Engaging. Really nice. Oh, thank you so much. Good. Thank you so much for coming to meet the authors today. And the videos will be on the Personal Development School website, probably in about a week to 10 days, but we'll let you know when it's up so that you can send it out and share it with all your friends.